Welcome to the Mindset Mile podcast, the show that'll leave you empowered to take action towards becoming the turned up version of your already awesome self. I'm your host, Aisha Zaza, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. Hey fam, welcome back to the Mindset Mile podcast. I hope you are having a great Monday, if it is Monday when you are listening to this. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Upswing Fitness. And today I want to talk to you about ways that you can help reduce distractions. So distractions exist in every corner of our lives, as you already know. And it's no wonder people feel anxious, unproductive, and like they aren't doing enough when we are being pulled in a million directions, when our attention is constantly being diverted to our phones or our kids or our email or things that just don't matter as much as what we need to be focusing on. So maybe you understand this scenario well, where you sit down to get some work done and maybe for the first 5 minutes, you can't seem to get started. And so you're like, okay, I'm just going to pop onto Facebook really quick or Instagram. And you're scrolling, you see someone's post and you're like, oh, I wonder how they're doing. You go to their page, you start looking at their photos. All of a sudden you are down the rabbit hole and watching YouTube videos. And before you know it, you've killed 30 or more minutes doing who knows what. So this is obviously so common. Don't feel bad about it. This is so common, but there are some ways that we can be more productive and stay more focused when it is time to sit down and start getting some work done. And I'm not going to bring up the obvious things like turning off your cell phone or putting it into do not disturb mode, turning off your computer alerts while you're working, or just indefinitely. I mean, if you're like me, I don't have any alerts except for I do get text message alerts, obviously, and I have my mail alerts set up on my phone. But otherwise, I don't have like social media alerts set up. That is way too triggering. It's way too annoying. I don't want to keep looking down at my phone every time it lights up that someone has commented or liked this. You guys, that stuff doesn't matter. Leave it for something to look forward to when you log into those apps. Turn every notification off indefinitely. That's my advice, but for sure do it while you're working. So learning how to not be so distracted is definitely easier said than done, but I've found that getting into the habit of these three things can help a ton. So for the first one, stop writing such long to-do lists. And to-do lists traditionally are ways to stay organized and to increase productivity. But what I have found and what I know is very common among research is that too many things on the to-do list is actually overwhelming. And when you are not accomplishing those things, if you're not making it through your whole to-do list every day, you start to feel discouraged and you're feeling like you're not doing enough. And that's what we want to avoid. So I suggest making a to-do list the night before. That way you're waking up with a game plan and only writing 2 to 3 things you need to get done that day. Maybe you have an ongoing to-do list where you can pull these things from. I'm not saying you need to sit there and think every night about like, okay, what do I need to do tomorrow? Have a full list of all the things that need to get done everywhere in your life. But then your daily to-do list, make it the night before and take 2 to 3 of those things and make it your daily to-do list. So if you have too long of a list, you will pick and choose what you want to get done instead of doing what might be most important. Or maybe you have them written in order of priority and all of a sudden you find yourself doing number 4 because it's easier to get done instead of number 1. So I find that having 2 to 3 things to get done every day and actually accomplishing those things is so much more satisfying. It's so much more productive than looking and being scatterbrained when I look at my to-do list. It's really better for your mental health because you will see yourself moving forward and actually getting things done instead of letting them linger or finishing things halfway. I'd like to invite you to check out my sponsor, Get the Tea. They have an amazing product called Life Change Tea. Why is it life-changing, you might ask? It's because they have formulated a tea containing 12 herbs that combined are so effective for cleaning out your gut. I drink it every day and it helps keep me feeling good. It's time to invest in your health, right? Why wait? It's made right here in the US. It's organic and non-GMO. It works as a gentle daily cleanse for your body and digestive system. You just brew, steep, refrigerate, and drink. It's so refreshing. Go to getthetea.com and enter code ZAZA27 to get $8 off your tea today. That's getthetea.com and enter code ZAZA27. The second tip I have for you is break your work down. So big goals, essentially, are sexy and motivating. When it comes to tackling most big goals, though, most people don't know where to start, or they get distracted and discouraged by how long it will take. So most goals, whether in business or your fitness or any type of habit change, can take weeks, if not months, to accomplish. And knowing that can make it feel like it's going to just take too long to do. So smaller tasks within the bigger goal will give you a sense of accomplishment and progress. So instead of trying to cram everything in and getting discouraged when you don't do it all, break up the work into chunks. So, an example of this might be, let's say you have a volume goal for the month for your business. Instead of saying, okay, I need to do, or my goal this month is to do $5,000 in volume, right? 5,000 in volume. Like if you're talking about products that range between, $50 to $100, that feels like it's really far away. Break down how many products or sets of products you'll need to sell instead. So if you're like, okay, well, 5,000 in volume for my business actually looks like getting 12 people to get this, promotional set this month, or it looks like 10 people, 10 new clients signing on to do at this minimum of an order, or it could be a combination of the two. Maybe you're looking to sell this many sets and then this many new clients at a minimum order of this amount. So when you see, okay, all I have to really do is actually sell 8 of these sets and register 12 new clients or 8 new clients at a minimum purchase order of this much, that seems much more attainable. And I mean, if you were to break those down on average per day, that's doing less than one thing per day for your business to accomplish that big goal. So I hope that makes sense. And obviously there's a myriad of examples and things that you can do that you do that I don't know what that looks like for you, but I hope giving you an example of how breaking down your work is actually going to make you more productive instead of setting this like huge goal where halfway through the month, if you're not halfway there in volume or whatever it needs to look like, you get discouraged and you throw in the towel and it's just game over on the 15th. It doesn't need to be like that. Breaking down your work is going to be much more effective. The third piece of advice I have is to set a deadline. So I mean this in a few ways. It can take up to 30 minutes to even just get into a workflow. It can take up to 30 minutes to get into a workflow. So knowing that, really the amount of time that we have to spend on concentrated brain activity and creativity is about 30 minutes. And I know that might not seem like very long, but when you are in that flow state, think of how easily time passes when you are just locked in on what you're doing. But the truth is after about 30 minutes, our brains start to wander, our attention spans, we're coming to the end of them. So maybe what this looks like is setting a 60-minute timer for yourself, 30 minutes to actually get into that state of flow, give or take, and give or take 30 minutes of high productivity work. It's so much easier and you will build so much more momentum when you are working with an end in sight. So we can't give concentrated focus for longer periods than that. So it's going to be important to build in breaks and you can come back to the assignment. I'm not saying all you're going to do is work for 30 minutes a day or 60 minutes a day. This break really just means to like get up, get your blood flowing, get your fresh air, go get a coffee, go drink some water, go to the bathroom, come back and do it again. And I've talked about the Pomodoro technique before, where it's setting a 25-minute timer on, and then you take 5 minutes off and you consistently do this for as long as you have or as long as you need to get your work done. So you really have to figure out what works for you. I like a 60-minute timer as of late, just because I do feel like 25 minutes from start to finish, if you're already in that workflow, is great, but getting into it sometimes can be it can take a little bit more time. So by the time you get going, 25 minutes is up before you know it, and you don't really want to stop. So I actually find that the first workflow is more effective to set a 60-minute timer. And then maybe thereafter you do the Pomodoro effect of 25 minutes on and 5 minutes off. So setting a deadline is going to be crucial in staying focused and maximizing your productivity. So distractions are not going anywhere. It is up to you to figure out how to overcome them. I hope that these tips help you. Let me know which ones you implement and send this to a friend, please, who has a business of their own or has a busy schedule who doesn't, right? But I want everyone to be able to maximize and use these tips and find the podcast. So sharing it helps a ton. And I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much for spending your Monday with me, and I will see you next week, fam. Until then, make it a great day.